in progress. Yeah, it is the first snowstorm, ice storm, cold spell of the Arkansas winter, and yeah, it's minus 2 degrees outside. So, progress is continuing, and let's talk about it. So it's been a minute since we talked. We're trying to bank up a few videos and whatnot so that you guys can actually have ongoing entertainment. So a lot of people have talked about going off grid, doing the rural life, building the tiny home themselves. Um, if you don't have experience, pray you've got good friends who will show up when you ask them for help. Because there are days I feel like we're in over our heads. Miss Kay, she's got the knowledge. She used to flip homes. I've gone from being project leader to unskilled labor, and I'm good with that. I really am. Had I continued this without her input, one, we would not be as far along as we are, and two, I'd be in a world of hurt in a couple of years. I've told the story about her asking, did you weather seal it? And I asked, what's weather sealing? And you need to take the caulk on all the inside joints and joists and anywhere there may be a gap. And once that was done, you could already tell a huge temperature difference. In the summer, it still got very hot inside, and we're going to have to work on some form of air conditioning, ventilation, cooling, because we will have at least one animal that will be inside 24/7 pretty much. And then we will have to deal with the heating. Heating is not so bad. We finally got the wood stove hooked up. We're using a Vogelzang potbelly stove. I managed to find, or did she find, on the whole Amazon Marketplace thing, and I'm thrilled. The guy sold it for about half of what it retails. But my one concern is the way you can see this lip, it's built up. On the other side, right here, is the oval for the stovepipe. And I could not find, to save my soul, a pipe piece that just fit down there and would fit perfectly. So we had to take a flat cap, came like this and then came around, do an outline trace of the oval, cut it out, fit it on, use the expanding glue to seal it, and then build our own angle to get to the stovepipe. And it works. It works very well. I'm going to have to get up on the roof later. Not today, not in this weather, because the heat dissipation box is still getting water in it, and there are just a few drips when it rains. So I missed something with the weatherproofing, weather sealing. That's manageable. Oh my goodness, we get a few drips of water on the concrete pad that she has poured. That's doable. We can live with that. What else? We're in kind of a I won't say holding pattern right now. The entire upstairs, I'll try to take the camera up later and either upload some photos or get you guys some video up there. But the entire upstairs has been drywalled, wall and ceiling. It has been inexpertly mudded. I can look up and see that I'm going to have some major sanding to do. I mean, it looks almost like I tried to do a textured wall in places. But we're in kind of a holding pattern because we have a staircase here and we have to slide 2x12s, 2x6s across the stairwell from the upstairs landing to just under the drywall and then lay a platform across it so that I can do the ceiling and I can do the walls and all the sanding there. And that's where I've stood for doing the drywall. That's where I've stood for putting in extra pieces of board to put the drywall to, because the design of this building was odd. Make sure you're getting what you paid for and look at, if you're gonna, get a prefab building and then finish it out, know what you're getting into. Look very carefully at the design. I'd almost recommend talking to an actual contractor rather than the wonderful people at Home Depot will help you. Tuff Shed people are pretty knowledgeable. Some of the reps won't even call you back, like the state rep and whatnot who's supposed to coordinate, and then you have to actually go through Home Depot, and Home Depot is amazing when they try to help you with things. But yeah, so we can't drywall behind the stairs until the landing, the platform is gone, and we can't get rid of the landing until the west wall is painted and the ceiling to the west of the landing is painted and the wall over there to the west of the landing is painted. So in order to do that, we have to sand the drywall down, get it smooth, let the dust settle. So we're praying that tomorrow we'll be painting up there. Because if we can get that done, we can start finishing out the west wall and the north wall. And on the east wall, we have maybe this much to do right around the power box. We did get in touch with the electric company. They're supposed to send a staker out to, we're going to start with a line hopefully from the main house, and then we'll go with the solar and put a switch in so that we can go back and forth. At this point, all love and respect to the power company, we're the next to the last place on the power line. We spend almost as much time off grid as we do on grid, particularly during the winter. We're known to go months without electricity because power lines are down and they have to work their way toward us. It happens. It is what it is, right? Rural living at its finest. You gotta love it. You do. What are you gonna say? It's a trade-off. These are things you have to think about, though, if you're gonna do this lifestyle, if you're gonna get away. As a prepper, we have a lot of things we have to consider. Many of us don't want to be inside the cities in case something goes cattywampus, because their survivability inside a high density population area is decidedly lower than out here. In contrast, that is part of the myth that everyone subscribes to. The myth of, well, I'll just go out in the woods and hunt. I know very few people who have or had the ability as they get older to just walk out into the forest and survive. Lone Wolf, if you're watching, I know you have the skill set and knowledge. And maybe once this place is done, between you and Ozarks Prepared, we need to start running some classes for people out here. That would be, an idea. But the myth is, well, I'll just go out in the woods and I'll hunt and I'll provide food and I'll survive. And many of even your hunters, your avid hunters, forget that they got up at 4 a.m., hopped in their pickup, drove out to their hunting lease, and then got started. And before they drove out, they stopped at Denny's and had their bacon and eggs and corned beef hash and coffee, filled up their thermos, and then got out in the woods. And in a, shall we say, apocalyptic SHTF, you're not going to be able to stop at Denny's, and depending on what's going on, you may not be able to get the gas to drive out to your hunting lease. So those of us who live out here, okay, we've got a slight advantage because we're already out here. And we won't be driving in for work if there's no work. Okay. However, even for those of us out here, I know of a group of 5 deer that like to bed down in my meadow and like to travel from the North Ridge south. In fall, there was a flock of about 20 turkeys that enjoyed going from that ridge line all the way down to the state highway. There are squirrels, there are rabbits, there are raccoons. But then again, that's an unclean meat, so those of us with dietary restrictions can't eat them. There is a pond with fish in it. Okay. Probably needs to be restocked and played with, and the agriculture brought up and expanded. So where am I going with this? Am I just rambling about different options? Yes and no. For the new people, because a lot of Prepping in Progress has always been geared for the new people. Yes, get out of the cities. Even if it's only 15 or 20 minutes outside the city line, get out. And if you have the capability of buying, buy your land. Buy your house. Get debt free on that. Why? One, as your city expands, 15 minutes isn't that much. 10 years, 15 years, you're going to have neighbors encroaching and your property value's gone up and you can sell and move out again. Pack up all your preps and all your gear. If something happens, you're close enough that you can get in. And yes, you are going to have problems with people wanting to come and get help. Personally, the nearest town is maybe 6 to 10 miles away. that would be, under normal circumstances, an easy walk for me. Taking into account the mountain terrain, the hills, the one's an easy walk. The one up and over the mountain, actually the two up and over the mountain, not so much. So it's a good thing in some ways that they're not right on top of me. That by foot or by horse, it would take a little bit of time. I'm about an hour, hour and a half away from where I would be working. Um, and for me, that's good because that's, for this area, a major metropolitan area. And I'm away from all that. And I have people that I've begun to meet in between the two locations. Being a ham radio operator, I have people that I can reach out and talk to. And as long as the repeater system is up, which it would be up in even a grid down scenario for a while, due to the generators keeping the repeater towers up, I can get messages through. There we go. It's starting to get warm. You can still see my breath, but I can feel heat. But get out of the cities, really. The odds of being able to provide for your family do go exponentially up as you move away. Why am I saying that? I mean, yes, go get a class on edible wild foods. Get the books and actually use them, take them out in the wildlands and explore. Do it now. Because, every year we say, well, maybe this is the year, things are getting rough, It hasn't crashed yet. It's close. But you still have time, if you're a newbie, to get out there and do something about it. Out here, you run into a whole different set of problems. If I need more drywall, like what's behind me, that's an hour, hour and a half drive. And then an hour and a half back. That's part of my workday gone. If the Jeep breaks down, or the truck, that's a tow job to get out. Or a mechanic coming here to get it at least drivable, to get out of here. I mean, let's be honest. If my water supply, we've got other videos about the water line from the spring to the tank freezing. I gotta fix that. That's on me. If this stovepipe breaks, I've got spare stovepipe, but I've got to figure out how to get it done. I'm watching the smoke out the window go up and go down. So getting into the tiny house business. If you're going to start building your own, there's a lot to figure out. I mean, it's more than just, we're going to put the electrical sockets here, and we're going to put this here, this is where the solar panel's going to go in. It's, how are you going to insulate? Are you going to use R19 on the ceiling? Yes. Do you want to use R13 or R19 on the walls? If it's a tiny house, we ran into a new problem. So we're on spring water. We decided to go with actually three ways to heat water. All right. This right here is our backup. You put the pot on the wood stove if the electric goes out. We decided to go with an electric tankless water heater because it would be on demand. It would save space. It would save a gas line. Right? Sounds good. We get the solar batteries hooked up. We get the inverter hooked up. If the electric goes out, we should still be able to do hot water, right? Right? Guess what? If you go with a tankless hot water heater, you better not have hard water. You better have a water softener. because it will kill the tankless. So suddenly we had to get one of those Ream water softeners, which is this wide and 4 foot tall. Um, so suddenly you've got a 4 foot tall by 2 foot wide box square that wants to take up space in your 20 by 20 house. In addition to the particulate filter, in addition to the hot water heater. So now you've got three things taking up space, your living space. So what we've done is well actually it's built, I need to finish insulating and weatherproofing it. We built on a little shack, water shed for it, and our water will go in there and then through to the house, under the kitchen sink, under the cabinets. These are things you got to think about when you're planning one of these. If you have a friend who's a contractor who can help you at cut rate, that'd be great. If you know people who will step in and help, those are the people who, when times get rough, you can count on, and you need to be there for them to count on you. So yeah, time to start sanding. I can still see my breath, but I can also feel my fingers again, so life is good. Thanks for joining me, and we'll get some fun stuff from upstairs. Stay with us, and thank you.